Is there a doctor in the house?
Good evening. And welcome to Have I Got News for You. I used to be John Pertwee. In the news this week, during the second half of a home game at Newcastle United, the temperature hits nearly 10 degrees. Bird's Eye reveal the secret process behind their new cheesy fish fingers. And in a New York restaurant, everyone's happy to split the bill equally until one diner suddenly realizes he was the only one who didn't order a starter. On Ian Hislop's team tonight, Deputy Leader of the Lib Dems, described in the newspapers recently as Gordon Brown's most trenchant critic. Not while I'm alive, he ain't. Please welcome Vince Cable MP. And with Paul Merton tonight is a comedian who recently said that the media present us with an unfolding picture of a world populated by life-addled celebrities and soundbite-spewing demagogues. Yes, well, that just about describes us all, I suppose, yes. Chris Addison. In round one, we cover the stories of global significance. Paul and Chris, take a look at this.
That poor vampire.
Yes, this is Jonathan. It's Jonathan Ross. There's Russell leaving his house, and this has been a big fuss. I'm at a bit of a disadvantage over this because I don't listen to his radio show, so I was no way I can actually hear what was said in any shape or form.
So how on earth did you find out what was said, Paul? How did you do that?
Well, luckily, I tuned into the many media that was available, and this phone call that was put into Andrew Sachs, I was able to hear it over and over again.
So you're in the lucky position of being able to be offended time after time after time.
At my own convenience.
That's absolutely wonderful. And that just goes to show what multi-platform broadcasting is really all about.
Exactly.
This is the outrage over two highly paid BBC stars behaving like overgrown schoolboys. Hang on, that's Little Britain, isn't it?
Two people complained who had heard it.
Well, they've said there are 27,000 complaints, but most of those are me.
Are they?
Yeah, I quite fancy Friday Night Chat Show, and it's seeing the...
I do all Jonathan's jobs, but I'll do film, whatever it's called. I know a bit about film.
72.
How the talk he's doing. So, yeah, I'll do the same jobs as him, but I'll do it for 50 quid less.
I saw the headline, it said Jonathan Ross suspended, and I thought, well, that'll please the Mail.
I thought they meant they'd hanged him.
Absolutely, that's where I was going. But if we go back in time, we'll try it again. Yes, I saw that Jonathan Ross had been suspended, and I thought, that'll please the Mail.
I'm nearly getting it, but I want to hear it one more time.
It took about 30,000 complaints for the Beeb to realise that some people might have found this offensive. The Beeb did its usual thing of moving from sort of breathless arrogance and indifference to self-flagellation over the course of about 4 days. And eventually the Director-General came home from holiday and thought, actually, this probably isn't a very nice thing to have done.
But is it really a national emergency?
Yes,
Gordon Brown had to be pulled out of an economic summit to give his judgment on all this, isn't it?
Well, it's more important than economic summits. I mean, that's a failure.
Well, the last time we... the last time we went through this drama was when somebody misnamed a cat on Blue Peter. Isn't that right? Oh. I mean, we're in serious territory.
And the brilliant thing about Ross and Brand is they seem to have managed to offend the entire country. So the idea that The Guardian obviously felt this was sort of sexist and unpleasant and harassment, and the right-wing papers were against it. He offended old people, he offended young people, he offended just about everybody. And this tidal wave of hatred sort of took the BBC by surprise. You mean we don't pay the licence fee so that you can ring up and say, I had sex with your granddaughter? Is that not cutting-edge comedy? Oh, no, it isn't.
I wonder if people were more concerned about the fact that obviously it is licence fee payers' money being used for this. They've made 4 calls. They're to Barcelona, that's international rates.
Nobody's mentioned the real victim at the heart of this, which is this young woman who came out of a convent and has been traduced to reputation damage in this way, and is now taking a firm stand for privacy by selling her story to The Sun.
Well, the satanic sluts are notoriously
I didn't want to go there.
Surely she's got a right to privacy, even if she belongs to a burlesque troupe called the Satanic Sluts. Doesn't change it.
The thing is, at a certain age, one longs to have one's privacy invaded.
There's a show on Radio 2 going if you fancy it.
When we had Russell Brand on this programme, he said that he hadn't been shown sufficient respect. It's a word perhaps he'll have to relearn.
What's the sign that things have got really bad for Jonathan Ross?
Piers Morgan was fantastically self-righteous in the Mail.
That's right. Jonathan Ross is the worst kind of nasty, gratuitous, insulting, viciously insensitive bully, said Piers Morgan from his glass house.
He's right. But you don't want him to say it.
But it's interesting the way the political stakes were escalated. On Monday, the only politician who could be found to say anything was an anonymous MP who said this is a bit beyond the pale. And then by the end of the week, when there were 30,000 complaints, we were all queuing up 10 deep to express our outrage. And, of course, Gordon came in.
What you have described to me appears to me, get me if I'm wrong, that no MPs are interested, and then the general public tells them they should be interested, and then they are interested. That seems to me the workings of a democracy.
You've got it in one.
Who's comforting Andrew Sachs' granddaughter now?
Max Clifford.
Yes.
You keep doing that. It's like being at a séance. We're all sat around this enormous Ouija board and you go, oh,
That's right,
stop doing it.
Come in, running water. Yeah.
She's decided that if Russell Brand is going to make that much money out of her, then she'll make a few bob out of The Sun as well.
Is that a criticism? Is that a criticism?
No, it isn't. It's just saying once she was in the public eye, presumably she thought, I will go to The Sun and make a little bit of money.
Did you see any of the messages of support on Georgina's Bieber page?
On a what page?
These questions are extraordinary. It's, did you see in the Daily Express? Have you seen her Bebo page? No, of course we haven't.
Listen, Ryan said Ross was trying to impress Brand, who, in my opinion, was a complete And Bob said, hi, Georgina. I'm the assistant manager at the Candle Room nightclub in Kirkcaldy, and I'd be very interested in your group making a personal appearance. What did fellow radio presenter Steve Penk have to say?
This is an outrageous example of what can be a very beautiful art form.
Oh, Paul, you're so marvellously intuitive.
Aren't I?
Yes.
I saw him on the telly saying it.
Anything to add to that, eh?
I was having a biscuit at the time. I had a cup of tea. While wondering why Andrew Sachs' number was always engaged.
He said, this sorry affair devalues the whole currency of prank phone calls. Which other madcap comedian behaved badly at the BBC this week? Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Right, can I ask you a question?
Yes, just about.
OK, because we got some good news. We got some good news about red squirrels last week. Does that mean, do you think, that there'll be many, many more of them in the years to come?
What do you mean, good news? You had good news. What are you talking about?
Well, I was hoping you could tell me, actually, and elaborate on it.
Don't gasp at me.
Well, it's all about
I don't know what you're talking
all
about.
about
What do
the
you mean, good news?
Just hold on a second, I'll tell you. It's all about the red squirrels have always suffered because they've been catching a disease off the grey squirrels, and now they appear to be
Yes.
developing some kind of immunity. Is that right?
Yes. That's one small part of it, but it won't save them, no.
Okay.
You're reading the mail or something, haven't you? I don't know where you get your news from, really.
Right. Okay, thank you both very much. Tell you what, Kate, if he happens to tip overboard on your way over to Branch Island, don't pick him out too quickly. Lovely to see you both. He didn't hear that, did he? Bye.
Bye. Goodbye. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did.
Yes, that's Bill Oddie on Breakfast TV, yes. He was a bit cantankerous, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he didn't leave any messages on any Owl's answer phones.
He's very pessimistic, you know, Bill.
Is he?
Yes.
About the planet.
Yes.
Do you think it's all over?
He thinks it's pretty well all over, yes. And I noticed the other day he said that on account of global warming, that his legs are getting shorter. I was in a studio with him the other day, and he could scarcely get up the steps.
I've heard if he sticks Velcro on his bottom, he can pick fag ends off the floor.
This is the row over the obscene messages left on Andrew Sachs' answering machine by Russell Brand and Jonathan Ross. It's simply unacceptable for the BBC to chase ratings by humiliating an elderly national treasure. Do you want me to drop my trousers now? It's lucky for Russell Brand that he resigned before the outcome of the inquiry, because the BBC were going to throw the bookie wook at him. Making abusive telephone calls is technically a criminal offence. So the lisping TV presenter, Jonathan Ross, could actually end up in prison. If he thinks he has any trouble with his R's now... Ian and Vince, here's yours.
We're back to boom and bust, aren't we?
We are. That's presumably
bust.
oil.
Yes.
That's money, I would guess.
Bankers' bonuses, I think, being cancelled.
That's Darling's house for sale. You should have had his job.
I think so, too.
The world economy is going down the toilet, is that right? That's
is.
a technical term, Vince.
It is, and it all started, I think, because the banks have messed things up. They've lent money to the wrong people. My bank is the Royal Bank of Scotland. Right?
Oh, yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah, and they've advanced vast amounts of money to a man called Mr. Deripaska, who's a friend of Lord Mandelson, to buy a nickel company. Now, if we're talking about repossession, we shouldn't be repossessing people's homes. We should be